Setting up Router Module RTM001. Begin by fitting the module rollers into the threaded sockets at the side of the clamping module. These consist of a shouldered screw and a countersunk roller for each side. There are 3 module leveling bobbins, which should be fitted along the long edge between the module rollers. Loosely attach these by winding them on from the underside, and then use the supplied hex key to wind the threads into the clamping table, so that the top of the threaded pin is a few millimeters below the surface of the table. You will use these to precisely level the module later. Fit the module locking plates on either side using a Phillips screwdriver and the screws provided. Locate the screws, then tighten them to ensure you get a secure fit. Next, by using the same process as before, fit the remaining leveling pins a little below the surface, ahead of leveling around the edge of the clamping module. There are 7 in total. They may be a little stiff to wind downwards because of the anti-slip compound on the thread of the pin. This is normal. Making the fence. The sliding fence faces are attached with 4 sets of the following: a bolt, a spring, a spacer, a steel washer, and a knob with a captured nut. Working from the front side of the fence, insert the bolts. Then, working from the back, fit the spacer over the bolt. Then slide the steel washer over the bolts and the spacer. You should be able to see just the end of the spacer sticking out. Lastly, put the spring over the bolt, then fit the knob with the captured nut. A little pressure on the screw end of the bolt should be sufficient to get the fixing started. You can use a screwdriver to hold it if required. By loosening these fixings, it's possible to open or close the fence around the different sized cutters. Next, fit the dust extraction connector using 2 black cross-headed screws supplied. 2 sizes of the hose connector are included in the pack. Next, fit the front of the dust guard by locating the slides over the pins in the top of the guard. Then fasten with the remaining 2 knobs and bolts. The precision fence is fitted to the router module base with 2 long face knobs and 2 shouldered nuts that run in the base of the slots of the module. Be sure to fit the friction washer between the knob and the fence before tightening. Repeat the process for the other side of the fence. Now fit the fence micro adjusters to the module. A shouldered bolt is fitted from the underside of the module and tightened with a single knob at the top. The micro adjuster has a small tab on the base of the orange section, which ensures it runs straight in the slot. To fit a suitable throat plate, select one of the 3 sizes supplied. Then fit the 3 grub screws in the threaded holes in the plate. These will be used to level the plate, so wind them downward, ensuring they are flush to start with. Now sit the throat plate in the cutter recess so the countersunk screw holes line up with the threaded inserts in the module. Fit 3 countersunk screws to the plate, taking care not to over-tighten them. While taking care not to over-tighten, you can level the top of the throat plate with the table surface by adjusting the grub screws, then fixing gently with the countersunk screws. Over-tightening either the grub screws or the countersunk screws can distort the plate. It's important to ensure that this plate is completely level, so it's worth taking time to get it right. The Triton routers have a built-in lift for above-the-table height adjustment. This is accessed through a hole in the top of the table. Select the correct black plate for your tabletop from those provided. Each black plate is marked with either 1, 2 or 3 indicator lines, depending on which router you're using. The black plate with 1 indicator line is used with the Triton JOF001 router. 2 indicator lines is for the Triton MOF001 router, and 3 indicator lines is for the Triton TRA001 router. 2 cruciform spacers used for edge planing are included with your router table module. They can be stored in the end of the fence like this. Vertical featherball. The router table module is supplied with 4 featherballs to make controlling the workpiece more accurate and safe. To fit the vertical featherballs, slide 2 bolts into the channel on the face of the fence. Then 2 black spacers, before fitting the orange featherball. Make sure you fit the featherball the right way round, with the tine sloping from right to left, as you see in the video. Secure the vertical featherball with 2 orange knobs. The ball can be adjusted for height and spacing from the cutter as required. To fit a module to the Workcentre, stand to the side of the top, then lower the module rollers into the mounting guide, which will engage the leveling bobbins. Now simply lower the module into the Workcentre frame. The first time you fit a module to your frame, the fit can be fine-tuned by adjusting the leveling screws and bobbins. So the top of the module is precisely level with the Workcentre surface, the surround at the ends, and the top of the T-track along the sides. Adjust each in turn, checking the fit by eye, with a set square or by hand. Use whichever method that suits you to achieve an accurate result. When the module is completely level, snap the module locks closed to hold the module in place. Periodically check the top surface alignment and readjust if necessary, depending on usage. The mounting plate on the underside of the router table module is designed for direct mounting of any Triton router. To fit your Triton router to the mounting plate, begin by removing the black base plate and the plunge spring from your router. Next, loosen the two mounting knobs so you have around 10 mm play. Push down on the mounting knobs and locate them in the keyholes in the mounting plates. Rotate the router anti-clockwise until the knobs align with the triangle markings on the mounting plates. Then secure the router by tightening the knobs. Check that the height winder is aligned with the access hole in the module. Lastly, ensure the mains power is switched off. Then connect the router power cable to the Workcentre socket. You can now lock on the power switch at the router so that the operations can be controlled from the Workcentre remote switch. You can adjust the height of the cutter in your Triton router from above the table by fitting your height winding handle. By winding the cutter to its highest position, you can engage the spindle lock and change the cutter above the table surface. This feature is disabled if the router power switch is on, so remember, wind the cutter up to the spindle lock position and switch the power off on the router itself, not just on the Workcentre control switch. This is an important safety feature and cannot be disabled. To assemble the horizontal featherboards, begin by fitting one of the orange tine sections and one of the aluminium T-track sliders into the black case, then secure with two flathead bolts. Fit an orange adjustment knob on the top of each bolt. To fit the horizontal featherball to the Workcentre T-track, loosen the knobs holding the T-track slider, then insert the slider into the end of the track. The featherboard should slide freely, but if it doesn't, loosen the slider knobs a little. Once the featherboard is in the correct position along the track, simply tighten the slider knobs to lock it in place. Repeat this process for the second featherboard. You can adjust the position and tension of the tines on the featherboard by loosening the knobs and sliding the tine section towards the fence. For the most efficient dust extraction, we recommend the use of a Triton dust bucket with its double outlet hoses. Connect a hose below the table directly to the outlet on the Triton router. The outlet is threaded and will accept the Triton hose being screwed in. It's a left-handed thread. The second hose can be fitted directly to the dust extraction port on the fence. This port will simply slide into the 35mm Triton hose. Edge planing. You can use the table router module as a highly effective edge planer to create a very straight edge at precisely 90 degrees, which is especially useful when joining or gluing two pieces of material together. To do this, begin by removing the two cruciform spacers from their storage space on the back of the fence. Loosen the fence faceplate bolts on the outfeed side of the fence, then insert the spacers in the slots behind the fence faceplate. The spacer's handle has the figures for the depth options printed on, which can be selected by turning the fence spacers, enabling you to select the required planing depth. The selected depth will be the side in line with the face of the fence. This procedure offsets the outfeed side of the fence from the infeed side by the depth you have selected. Next, fit a straight cutter in the router and, using a straight edge, align the outfeed fence with the edge of the cutter. The sight gauges on the fence should be set to exactly the same value. Use the micro adjusters to nudge the fence if required. One full turn of the micro adjuster plate will move the fence 1 mm. In this way, the fence will be parallel with the table, with the in-feed face set back from the outfeed by the distance set with the fence spacer that defines the planing depth. It's advisable to use the featherboards to maintain an even pressure on the workpiece and keep it in good contact with the fence during the planing operation. If you want to profile the short end or mill a rebate across your workpiece, you can achieve better control over your work by using the protractor that's supplied with the contractor saw module or purchased separately. The sliding miter gauge has a removable front fence. With this front fence removed, you have a high grip surface exposed that offers more control when making rebate and tenon cuts on the router table. The router module can be used without the fence attached by fitting a bearing-guided cutter and the 3 start pins supplied. Hold the edge of your workpiece against the pin and gradually ease it onto the cutter. The dust extraction adapter can be removed from the fence and fitted directly to the table for use with bearing-guided cutters. The chip guard can also be fitted, which increases operating safety and the effectiveness of the dust extraction. The TWX7 Workcentre can be folded up for transport with the router still fitted. If you have the optional rugged transport kit fitted, you can simply wheel it away to your next job site.